Did you know that the Hunter Crest, the one that you start the game with, has a unique ability that allows you to deal a lot more damage as you keep on hitting enemies? If you take a look at the top left corner of the screen, where you can see the Hunter Crest displayed, you will notice that as I hit enemies, this small indicator will start to fill up. This is known as focus, and once it reaches the maximum, you'll be dealing a lot more damage. If you don't have any needle upgrades, you'll only be dealing 1 extra damage per hit, but with the final needle upgrade, you can go from dealing 21 damage per attack to 26 damage per attack. You unlock this ability when you first upgrade your Hunter's Crest, which you can do so by visiting Ava, that is located in the Weaver Nest Atla, right next to where you start the game. You will then be able to upgrade the Hunter Crest a second time, which will be able to increase your damage even further. If you didn't know about this and would like to know about more tips or other things you may not know about Silksong, then this is the video for you. With that being said, my name is Dark Hero, and here are 12 more tips to help you with Silksong. Now, as far as movement goes, there are a lot of techniques and helpful things that you can incorporate that are going to make your life a little bit easier in Silksong. Like, for example, did you know that while you are sprinting, you can simply hold down the sprint button and you can let go of any direction and Hornet will continue to sprint forward. This will of course free up your analog stick, which will give you a little bit more control over your character for any kind of follow-up movement that you may want to go for. Additionally, did you know that you can perform a backflip by simply jumping and holding backwards on the analog stick after initiating a dash? This is of course especially helpful if you start to sprint, but you notice that an enemy is approaching you and about to attack you, so you can quickly cancel out of the sprint animation and move away from the enemy while still being able to dash afterwards if you need to. Speaking of which, you probably didn't know that you were able to dash downwards at any moment, which not only allows you to traverse certain areas a little bit quicker, but is especially useful against certain boss fights where you need to jump up in order to hit the enemy, but you may need to go down quickly in order to avoid an incoming attack, so that is where this fast fall technique would come in handy. And for a final movement tip, and this one is really helpful and I really didn't know about this up until I reached Act 3, is that whenever you are holding onto a wall, you don't need to be jumping off the wall over and over again to climb up. You can actually wall dash or wall hop by simply tapping the dash button while you are holding yourself against a wall. Additionally, if you are stuck between two walls and if you tap the dash button in a direction, you can quickly perform a dash between each wall that is going to be much faster than if you simply wanted to jump from one side to the next. I found wall dashing to be especially useful in those tight corridors where you need to go up but there's some enemies on the side and you want to make sure that you're able to get above them so you can hit them with a downward attack safely. Again, I didn't know about this for the longest time, so there is a chance that you may also not know about this. Do you recognize this shop in the far fields? Well, each time you need to get into this vendor's shop, you need to pay 30 rosaries just to get in every single time. However, once you go inside, you can actually break the mechanism above the door that will keep the door unlocked permanently, allowing you to visit the shop as many times as you want without having to pay the fine. And now that you are here, I should also mention that one of the items that the vendor sells, the weighted belt, is actually a very decent item when it comes to allowing you to deal more damage, as its effect will make it so that whenever you attack enemies, Hornet will be knocked back a little bit less, allowing you to get just a couple of hits in without having to get in close. It's a very specific tool that you can use that in certain scenarios is going to allow you to get just a bit more damage because of not having to stop to move for just a couple of steps, and because the vast majority of the talismans that take up the yellow slot don't really contribute towards you dealing more damage or being more capable in combat. I find the weighted belt to be a pretty valuable choice here, especially when you are using a shorter range crest. One thing that seems to have claimed the lives of many Hornets in a community is a lot of these jumping and platforming sections in the game, where because the Hornet's default moveset contains this diagonal downward slash that makes it somewhat more difficult for you to clear these sections. If you happen to be someone that has had trouble with these platforming sections, then you'll be happy to know that you're able to pick up a couple of crests that are going to greatly help you. In the Bone Grave area that is west of Bone Bottom, you'll be able to go inside of this settlement, and at the end of it you'll be able to unlock the Wanderer Crest. This Wanderer Crest has basically the same movesets that you already have in the original Hollow Knight, so if you're someone that is used to that moveset that is very fast and predictable angles in the downward slash pogo jump, you'll be able to obtain it here. It's a very solid crest that doesn't really have many faults, though the biggest downside is of course the lack of range. That said, if you are looking for a crest crest that is going to give you a lot more range and still allow you to clear these platforming sections very easily. Then if you go to Greymore, you'll be able to go to this corner of the map right here, where you will find yet another hidden facility, and inside it you'll be able to unlock the Reaper Crest. The moveset of the Reaper Crest is a much slower attacking moveset, with the trade-off being that you get a lot more range. And of course, one of the biggest things of the Reaper Crest is the pogo jump, or the downward slash, that allows you to clear these platforming sections incredibly easy, as the hitbox on that downward attack is incredibly generous. Additionally, the Reaper Crest has a unique benefit that makes it so that whenever you use your bind to heal yourself, Hornet will get a special glow, making it so that whenever you hit an enemy, you are able to produce these silk orbs that you can then pick up to get some additional silk, allowing for you to use more skills or heal more often. These are very solid crests that are a great alternative to the default Hunter crest, especially if you could not get used to the moveset, so go ahead and pick them up to have a better time with the game. A key item you should always be on the lookout for are the Silk Eaters. Using them after you die will allow you to recover your cocoon after death, so that you are able to recover any lost rosaries and you can restore your silk gauge back to normal. As an additional tip, there is an NPC hidden at the end of the Sinner's Road by the name of Styx that will occasionally gather some Silk Eaters for you, so as you pass through the area, make sure that you pay Styx a visit and be sure to get some of them. One of my biggest tips, especially if you're still playing through Act 2, is to stock up on some of these rosary bundles. As you're playing through Silksong, you're going to come across these small facilities as well as some vendors that are able to trade in some of your rosaries for a series of bundles that range from having 30 to 60 and 90 to even 120 and 220 rosaries that will be stored as an item that you can then break at any point to receive all of those rosaries. The conversion rate will depend on the vendor and how many rosaries you're trading, with the most common being paying 80 rosaries to get a bundle of 60, so you do end up losing a little bit on this trade-off. But the reason as to why I recommend this so much, again especially if you're playing through Act 2, is that you're going to find yourself in a lot of these very long areas that don't really have any checkpoints apart from one single bench that is very far away from anything, and naturally to place that bench there and activate it so you can rest and get a checkpoint, you're going to need to pay rosaries. So it's always good to make sure that you have some rosary bundles on you, just so that whenever you come across these or you find Chakra in a new area and you want to buy a map from her straight away, that you have enough currency to make sure that you are always taken care of. It's also important to mention that not all of the enemies you fight in Silksong will drop rosaries. In fact, a lot of areas won't have a single enemy that drops them, so you won't even have the opportunity to farm for them to get a map or a checkpoint sometimes. So because you're going to be running into a lot of jumping puzzles and a lot of difficult areas where small enemies will be dealing 2 and 3 hearts of damage at once, just play it safe and stock up on some of these rosary bundles. Early on into your playthrough, you can easily pick up a couple of tools that you might have missed that can provide you a huge advantage while you're playing through the game. Druid's Eyes, which can be obtained as a reward for completing the quest, the Berry Picking Wish for the Moss Druid in the Moss home area, will make it so that every time you take damage, you'll restore a small portion of silk, giving you a bit of a comeback after getting hit. Now, it would be ideal to simply not get hit, but now that you did, may as well have it contribute towards healing you back up to full. It also works for environmental damage, so if you keep falling for those spikes, maybe this can help a bit. The Warding Bell is yet another tool you can pick up very early on, as it is found on a platform in the far fields area. It quite simply protects Hornet whenever you go for a heal. This protection seal will even occasionally kill enemies that attack it, making it a very safe and reliable choice for a good portion of the game, as naturally whenever you go for a heal you are already pretty vulnerable, likely already down to just a couple of hearts, so gaining that extra protection can really go a long way. The Fractured Mask can be purchased from the modeled Scar in the Hunter's March area for 260 rosaries, and it will basically shield you against critical damage that would otherwise knock you down, but once it does, it will shatter on impact. So let's say you are fighting a boss and you are down to only 2 hearts, a boss hits you and now in Silksong it's enough to kill you. Well, with the Fractured Mask, you'd be able to just barely survive, but the mask could break, though it will restore whenever you rest at a bench. It's a great defensive tool very early on while you don't have anything better, and is very much going out of your way to seek it. Now, the next tool that I have is definitely the less accessible out of all of these, but it can provide tons of value, especially by the time you obtain it, as you're not gonna have many better options. The multi-binder that you can purchase from Frey in the Bellheart area costs a whopping 880 rosaries and can only be purchased after completing the My Missing Courier wish. The multi-binder will effectively provide a second healing for Hornet, which would allow you to recover more health, with the downside that you now have 2 healing animations to worry about. Thankfully, you can combine it with the shielding effect from the warding bell, and now you have some added safety when you take longer to heal. And as a bit of an expert tip on top of this, to make this combo even more efficient, combine the multi-binder and warding bell tools with the Reaper Crest's healing effect. That way, even if your healing is interrupted and you only heal once and the second fails, you will still retain the benefit from the Reaper's Crest, that then allows you to spawn energy orbs upon hitting enemies, therefore being able to generate more silk and get back into healing or casting skills quicker. Another tool that you absolutely should not miss is, without a shadow of a doubt, the Pollip pouch. The Pollip pouch is given to Hornet by Greyroot in the Shellwood area after completing the Rite of the Pollip questline, which involves collecting 6 Pollip hearts from destroying the purple flowers hidden in Shellwood. And this tool will quite simply make it so that your red tools will now inflict a poison effect that is going to deal extra damage. This allows for you to not only deal more damage with your tools, therefore in a way making your shell shards more effective, but also gives you a way to maintain damage uptime on bosses while they are doing certain attacks that require you to dodge or while they become essentially untargetable or out of your range. The Pollip pouch also has unique interactions with certain specific tools, and all of these can also be obtained pretty early on. Using Pollip pouch with the Flea Brew temporarily makes Hornet leave behind a trail of poison as she moves, kind of as if you were playing as Singed, allowing you to more easily maneuver the arena and dodge incoming attacks while still being able to deal damage to the boss. Combining it with the Plasmium Phial is a little bit similar, as it will create a purple mask that is going to break on its own after 3 seconds, and when it does so, it will release a poisonous gas around Hornet. I don't really like it as much because of the timing component, but it's still quite good. And lastly, combining the Pollip pouch with the Flint Slate will temporarily make your needle attacks poisonous, on top of making them deal extra damage. So if you are an aggressive player that likes to get up close and start comboing pogo sticks on a boss, you can get a lot more damage out of that by using this combination. I cannot emphasize enough how powerful the Pollip pouch is. It genuinely turns a lot of boss fights into a cakewalk and only gets better as you get more tools later on in the game. So definitely do not miss out on this tool and get it as soon as you can. Make sure that you frequently visit these quest boards in each of the hubs that you have available, so that is the starting area, Bellheart, and then in the Citadel next to the first shrine, as you will eventually be getting these side quests, or wishes as they are named in game, and a lot of them can lead you to some pretty cool places and areas that you might have missed because you didn't quite find some hidden path, and the rewards can also be quite good as well. Has this ever happened to you before? You find Chakra while you are exploring a new region and you want to buy one of her maps, but you don't have enough rosaries at the time. So you go ahead and defeat some enemies to collect some rosaries, and by the time you return to Chakra, she just isn't there. If that is the case and you want to know where you can find her, you'll be able to find Chakra along with all of the maps and pins that she can sell you at any new region that you have yet to explore, but also at any of the hubs that you might have already visited. So if you are still near the start of the game, Chakra will just be above the starting village, up in a small ledge. If you have already moved on to Bellheart, then you'll be able to find Chakra up on the right on top of another ledge as well. As you will progress through the game and eventually unlock the Needle In ability, make sure that you often return to Weave Nest Atla, located right next to the Moss Grotto where you started the game, as inside it not only can you find a Spell Fragment and a Mask Shard, but by talking to the NPC that is located at the bottom Ava, she will be able to not only upgrade your crest, but can also give you an additional slot for a yellow tool and a blue tool in the form of a Vesticore, allowing for you to have a lot more flexibility when making your build. So if you are someone that likes to have the compass always on while they are exploring, or maybe you always want to have Fractured Mask, you'll be able to equip these and still retain all of your original slots. And in the case of a crest like the Beast Crest, which doesn't even have a blue slot, this is the only way in which you're able to add those blue tools. Early on into your playthrough, you'll reach the small town of Bellheart. You'll gain a new objective, and upon completing it, you'll reach Act 2 of the game. When you do so, make sure you return to Bellheart, as by then you'll be able to interact with plenty of NPCs that are going to be helpful to you. You've got a new shop with some handy tools to purchase. These little dudes that have the delivery quests for you that you can do, get a ton of rosaries very early, the Lore Keeper NPC that you can deliver items to get even more rosaries, and most important of all, the Needle Master at the top that can upgrade your needle and allow you to deal a lot more damage. And trust me, the distinction between having your needle upgraded and not upgraded is going to be huge, as I got to the very end of Act 2 without upgrading my needle a single time, simply because I did not visit the Needle Master and caused myself a lot of pain, as some enemies in Sinner's Road were taking, and I'm not joking, 17 hits to die, whereas when I upgraded my needle, it only took about 6 or 8. From having 0 upgrades, your needle will go from dealing 7 damage per attack to 21 damage per attack with the maximum amount of upgrades. So definitely do not miss out on this whenever you see a quest that is going to reward you with pale oil. Go ahead and prioritize that and return to the Needle Master to upgrade your needle so you can deal a lot more damage. And with that, I have covered my first series of videos where I will go over some of my favorite tips, but also a few secrets that you might have missed in Silksong. I will be doing more of these in the future, so if you're interested in more Silksong content, please subscribe to the channel, as I am working on speedrunning the game and covering it a lot more extensively. With that said, my name is Dark Hero, and thank you all so much for watching.